I'm incredibly inspired by Sarah and Judd's talks. A lot of what they are saying and a lot of what I've heard this weekend resonates strongly, and I'm tempted to just say ditto and then walk off the stage. But I'm told I'm not allowed to do that. Would anybody like to hear some music? Okay. Would anybody like to hear some world music? Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, this is some globally inspired music that I enjoy playing. That was a piece written by a German composer, inspired by a French dance written for an instrument from Italy. The precise instrument I play was made in French Canada in Quebec. And the bow is made of wood from Brazil, and the hair often comes from Mongolia. If I grab the instrument, the reddish hue you see comes from the dye of a plant from Indonesia, and the ebony wood that makes up the fingerboard and the pegs often comes from Africa. I come from Kansas. And so, why am I saying all this? Good question. Even music that is associated with a specific style, and even music that we are very familiar with, is often the result of hundreds of years of global influence. And that piece has been a big part of my life over the years, and you can actually hear more of those pieces by Bach in my online series called BachinTheBathroom.com. I'm very slowly recording all of the Bach cello suites in the bathrooms of the nicest concert halls. So I thank you for coming with me on this. I have a question. Is this a safe space? We can say yes, please. Okay. Circle of trust. I have a question for everybody here, because there's a lot of amazing people here. Who here has listened to classical music in your leisure time within the past month? Wow. Okay, I was hoping this would go this way. Who has listened to it in the past week? Wow. Who has listened to it today in your leisure time? Okay. So let me ask the next question. Who here only listens to classical music? There's probably a couple. Okay, perfect. That's how I was hoping this would end up. I also do not only listen to classical music. That is my confession of the day at the Classical Music Symposium. But classical music is one language, and I definitely see different styles of music as languages. And I've kind of, ever since I graduated from conservatory, kind of spent my career trying to learn new languages and become multilingual. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to talk about maybe some of the benefits that I see to breaking down some of the walls that Judd is talking about, and what is there from other styles and other cultures and other audiences that we can learn from, that can become a part of us, and how can we find our voice in those different environments. I think for me, and I went to 2 classical conservatories and paid a lot of money to learn how to play the piece of music I just performed for you. And but while I was in school, I think many people may have a similar struggle. I was exploring the whole world of music. I started getting into a really big Pink Floyd phase, and as I was progressing, I started to feel like the focus of my professional studying was not representing like my world perspective as it grew. I felt like there was a growing divide between the music I listened to and the music I was playing professionally and studying. And this is actually just going to be a big caveat on my entire talk, which is it's all based on a lot of subjective personal preferences. But for me, I kind of developed a mission statement. For my own happiness, I decided and realized that I wouldn't really be happy as a professional musician unless I was playing all the types of music that I like to listen to. And so that carried with it a lot of obligation, like to myself and to my curiosity. And so that has kind of guided my trajectory ever since, because I like listening to a lot of music. And so I've tried to learn all these languages and find out what kind of musician I can be in different environments. I think this is a good opportunity to just touch on, again, the way that music is often taught in the conservatories. I was taught how to play Beethoven, and I was really inspired by Beethoven's music and Beethoven's career. But what I wished was that after being taught how to play Beethoven and to idolize him as an artist, I really wish that my schools had taught me how to be Beethoven and how to compose and how to arrange. And he was an improviser, and he put concerts together. And actually, he was, I think, the consummate 19th century musician. And I think a lot of what he did applies today. And so I really craved that holistic experience as a musician. And so that kind of brings me to potentially why I got the opportunity to speak here. I direct the Global Musician Workshop, which happens here at DePauw. And I've been playing in the Silk Road Ensemble with Yo-Yo Ma for 11 years, actually. So early in my career, the definition of what music could be was really expanded for me. But actually, after college, I want to talk about one life-changing experience. Is I went to fiddle camp. Has anybody here been to fiddle camp? Okay. So I had just graduated Juilliard and then went directly to fiddle camp. And then actually a lot of my friends from school are here. No offense, guys, but the people at fiddle camp were just as talented as our community was. And I was really blown away. I had imagined this utopia where string musicians, because that was my community, could feel comfortable in any style. And I didn't realize that it actually already existed. And so I was really happy to find that community and really embark on this process of learning from traditions. And so I actually ended up running my own string camp. I don't call it fiddle camp because I play cello. But I ended up running a string camp in Florida that was explicitly multi-style and really empowered students to learn multiple languages, but also to find their own voice in it. And we break students up into bands, and they're tasked with arranging their own pieces, and they're coached on ensemble playing. But the final performance and the impetus of the week is really about the students exploring their own creativity. And I would talk about this, and I was excited about this with the members of Silk Road Ensemble. And occasionally I would teach Silk Road Ensemble music at the camp. And every once in a while I'd send Yo-Yo a little YouTube video of some musicians from camp playing a Silk Road song. And eventually he was asking me more about this, because this field of entrepreneurship is kind of a buzzword now. And Yo-Yo is very passionate about this as well. And so when he realized that a music camp like this could make money and actually be sustainable, like this light bulb went off. And within a month, we decided that the Global Musician Workshop run by Silk Road was going to happen, and it was going to happen here. And so I want to actually talk a little bit about what are the values behind this, and what does it look like. And maybe there's a way to incorporate that into, as Judd calls it, sort of the existing establishment institutions. The mission of the Global Musician Workshop is to empower musicians of all backgrounds to learn from each other's traditions and incorporate them into their own artistic voices. I know we have a couple GMW participants here. Go, woo! Yeah. And so what does that look like? We do that by immersing students into various musical cultures and really challenging their values. That's a big part of becoming multilingual and feeling comfortable in other musical cultures, is confronting your own assumptions of values and confronting my own idea of what is a good cello sound. I developed a really clear idea of what that is in school. But now I don't actually think of the words good or bad. I usually think of the word appropriate or inappropriate. And the sound world of Dvorak Cello Concerto is beautiful, but it is not appropriate in a Bill Monroe tune. I have learned. And so really confronting not only your values, but like your literal physical relationship to your instrument. Everything is up for grabs when you start to genre hop. And so we do a lot of this at GMW, and we really try and empower people to speak new musical languages. One thing I want to say about that is, the population of GMW is only about half orchestral instruments. We have people traveling from around the world, playing instruments from all sorts of traditions, from Iran, from India, from Korea, from Japan, from Africa, and South America. I mean, really, the globe. And so that's a big part of it, where it's not a one-dimensional exchange of classical musicians trying to learn from non-classical music. I think everybody is equally outside of their comfort zone. And that's one thing I want to say, that oftentimes when we talk about learning non-classical styles or putting together a dance tune, like for a club show, and sometimes people like a violin player, a classical violin player, might decide they want to learn some fiddle tunes so that their rhythm can be better when they play Bach. And oftentimes there's this idea of taking something back, that a lot of non-classical styles have some magic ingredient that's going to make us a better musician. But I think that learning multiple styles has intrinsic value, and that there is value in playing a fiddle tune like a fiddle tune, whether or not it may benefit my primary professional activities. And so I just sometimes feel the need to say that to classical audiences. What this means when we develop this pluralistic mentality, there's also this story I like to tell of, has anybody seen The Matrix? Yeah. So I like to say there is no such thing as E flat. There is no spoon. And our Western concepts of intonation do not apply. A lot of times people say, well, music, it's all good. It's all the same 12 notes. No, it's not all the same 12 notes. In the Arabic maqam system, there's a whole there's a whole system of intonation and sensitivity to what we call quarter tones or microtones. They just call them tones. And what's interesting is they have a note that's in between E flat and E. So we might call it a quarter tone sharp E flat. But what's fascinating about that is not only does that note not exist in Beethoven, but there are regional differences. And an Iraqi oud player might place that second degree in the maqam bayati. He might place it in a different place than a Syrian oud player or an Egyptian oud player. And so when I started going down that rabbit hole, I realized there's no such thing as E flat. And so that's actually very freeing to really embrace each language as its own world. And that's very hard. I think particularly for us with classical backgrounds, it's very hard to branch out. And a lot of it has to do with our dependence on notated music. And I think empowering our students to learn and perform by ear is going to be an integral part of music education in the 21st century. And there's I'll tell one story about how hard this can be and the humility that it may require. The hardest thing for a classical musician branching out is sounding bad. Who here has ever sounded bad? Yeah. I'm going to tell you one instance where I sounded bad. I had joined the Silk Road Ensemble, and then right after I graduated from Juilliard, there was an opportunity to play with the group at Millennium Park in Chicago. Beautiful, huge venue. At that time, I was sitting next to Yo-Yo, and I had graduated a couple weeks before, and I thought, I've made it. This is a real, I just graduated, now I'm doing this cool gig, I'm sitting next to my childhood idol, and there's all these great musicians on stage. I was thinking I could get used to this. I feel like if my music career just has more opportunities like this will be pretty nice. So instantly, I felt validated. By the way, the only reason I got to play in Silk Road Ensemble is because I didn't do what my teachers told me to do. I don't know if this is still a safe space. But had I done everything my teachers were telling me to do, I would not have gotten that opportunity, for what it's worth. But 2 weeks after I played that gig, I was a student at a jazz camp in Columbus, Ohio. It's actually a jazz strings camp, which is a very exciting thing. And I was learning how to walk bass lines. And my friend and colleague, Christian Howes, I was backing him up in a jazz club in Dayton, Ohio. And he was yelling at me in public, saying, don't drag, because I was dragging, right? Because I was still learning how to walk a bass line. And that was actually a big moment for me, because 2 weeks earlier to the day, I had had my biggest professional opportunity ever. And then I found myself in a jazz restaurant in Dayton, Ohio, being yelled at publicly in front of 5 people who actually didn't care. The point of this story is that learning a new language is hard. And that if we're not, as I tell my students, if we're not making a fool out of ourselves in public, we're not learning. And so that's been a big part of my career, is making a fool out of myself in public. I want to try and wrap up as quickly as I can, because I'd love to be able to field some questions. The other thing I want to say about being a multi-style musician is that styles of music are more than just how they sound. Every style of music has a different value system, but at the core of it, every style of music has a community attached to it. There is a community of people that love Celtic music, and they go to Celtic festivals, and they will go to any Scottish fiddler playing within a 2-hour driving radius of their house. There are also distinct communities for Arabic music. There's a jazz community, and we are part of the classical community. And that is actually one of the most satisfying parts of breaking away from a classical bubble, dare I say, is being able to engage with different communities. And I really enjoy, different types of audiences bring out different parts of ourselves. And so that's one of the most sustaining and meaningful parts of playing multiple styles is engaging with different types of people. And I think that actually goes with a lot of what's been said about entrepreneurship and the plight of classical music in the 21st century, trying to engage audiences. And I think they have that saying that insanity is trying the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Well, I honestly think, and again, this is totally personal preference, but it does align with some things that people have talked to earlier. If you want to engage new audiences, you need to have different conversations, and I think that often will entail different music. Going along to the communities that I was talking about before, I would not want to go to a Celtic festival or a Celtic audience or a bluegrass audience and play Penderecki's Second Cello Concerto for them. Nor would I want to come to a classical audience and just do a Bill Monroe tribute. Like, I think that, if we want to engage new audiences, that new content is a big part of that for me, and that's the meaning that I've seen out there. And so, along with entrepreneurship and engaging new audiences, we talk a lot about the classes that need to be added to curriculums. We need to teach students how to do business plans and everything. And I would echo something that Greg said the first day, which is that entrepreneurship is not just about building a business, it's about developing a special idea. What is the unique thing, the unique music, the unique teaching environment? What is the unique offering that you're creating that the world needs? What is the need that you're filling? And I think that's the basis for meaningful artistic entrepreneurship. And with that, I think I will end my talk and just say thank you for the opportunity to speak.